Hi, thank you for clicking on the video, and I hope everyone is doing really well. I said a long time ago that I was going to make this video, and now I have finally made it, so here it is. So today I'm going to be discussing binge eating versus emotional eating versus overeating. And if you see me looking down, I have notes right there. All three of these eating behaviors, they are all very different. The one thing that all three have in common is they are all symptoms of an underlying emotional and/or mental distress and/or unresolved trauma and issues. So first I want to talk about binge eating. So what is binge eating? It is reoccurring episodes of eating large quantities of food, typically larger than what the average person can eat. Eaten very quickly in a short period of time, typically within a 2-hour or less than time span. Eating to the level of severe or mild discomfort, eating far past the feeling of physical fullness. The binge is then followed by feelings of guilt, shame, and/or distress. During the episode of binging, a sense of loss of control is experienced, basically feeling like you can't stop what you're doing. Binges occur in private due to the feeling of embarrassment and the possibility of judgment of others. Binges happen frequently, as often as multiple times per week. A lot of people associate binge eating disorder with this disorder. However, they are separate because binge eating disorder does not include a purge, while does. What is emotional eating? Emotional eating is eating more when you feel stressed, eating to comfort when feeling negative emotions, and eating to celebrate when feeling positive emotions. Eating when you're not hungry or eating more after feeling full. Using food as a reward. Eating until you're stuffed. Eating and overeating makes you feel safe. You view food as a friend rather than fuel and something to enjoy. Eating makes you feel powerless and out of control. The emotional eating cycle. So first, something happens that upsets you. You feel this overwhelming need to eat, which leads you to eating more than maybe you typically would, eating past the feeling of fullness, ignoring your fullness cues, and just continuing to eat to numb that negative feeling that you're feeling, then leads you to that feeling of guilt and a powerlessness over food, which upsets you, which leads you to feeling overwhelmed and an urge to eat, and the cycle continues. So that's emotional eating. And finally, overeating. Simply having an extra helping or two, eating more than normal, eating past the feeling of fullness at special occasions or celebratory events. Overeating is totally normal. It is not a reoccurring act, and the frequency is sporadic and only a few times a year rather than multiple times a week. I mean, even overeating could happen a couple times a month as well. I would say emotional eating and binge eating are both disordered behaviors. Overeating is a totally normal behavior. If you have a healthy relationship with food and a healthy relationship with your body, overeating is natural. It happens. Another behavior that is totally normal if you have a healthy relationship with food and with your body is some days you eat less than the caloric recommendation, and sometimes you eat over it. Sometimes you eat more than your maintenance, and sometimes you eat less than your maintenance. These behaviors are totally normal and they are not disordered. I think it's important to differentiate between these three behaviors so that you can truly analyze your own behaviors and ask yourself, am I truly binging or am I just overeating? Am I an emotional eater or do I have binge eating disorder? These are the questions you need to start asking, but you can only start asking the proper questions when you understand the difference between these three behaviors. I struggle with binge eating, but I had such a distorted outlook on binging that I started to associate overeating as binging, when maybe all I had was a extra piece of toast, or I ate the whole pint of ice cream after dinner. I called that a binge when in actuality, I just overate. It's important that you truly analyze your behavior, because by doing that, you are able to pinpoint the problem and the issues, and then you can take the proper steps to overcome it. If you're just overeating, but you're telling yourself that you're binging, you're creating a much more severe problem than there actually is, since overeating is totally normal. But you're telling yourself, I have binge eating disorder, when it's like, no, maybe just a couple times a month you eat a little bit more or a little bit past your fullness. You're almost setting yourself back because you don't completely understand the difference between these three behaviors. And I hope that by just outlining the basic summary of what these are, it's triggered something in you to kind of observe your behaviors a bit more, a little bit closer. Be meticulous when it comes to trying to figure out which of these three are your behaviors. And the more I read about overeating, I realized that more times than not, I'm simply just overeating. I'm not binging because I'm not losing control. I used to lose control, like to the point where it was like an out-of-body experience and I couldn't stop myself because I was just watching myself. And now it's like I'm completely present and I'm enjoying what I'm eating. I just wanted to talk about this topic real briefly. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you did not enjoy it, you can give it a thumbs down. That is cool too. I don't mind. If you are not subscribed already, please consider subscribing and be sure to hit the notification bell to stay notified of all future uploads. If you have any comments, questions, video suggestions, anything at all, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. Be sure to go follow me over on Instagram, and I will see you next time.